As I sit here on a cold Tuesday morning with my coffee, I guess I asked myself that question at this time of the year: should I take my classic car off the road? Now, for those of you who don't know, I've got a 1984 Jetta Coupe. Is a Jetta a classic car? Well, depending who you listen to. So a lot of classic car insurance companies will say anything between 15 to 30 years is a classic car. Now, my Jetta's 1984, so that would make it 36 years old. So fits nicely in that classic bracket. Last year, I think it did about 2,000 miles. Obviously, there's been a lot going on this year that meant that we haven't been able to get out and about as much as we'd like. So I guess that kind of helps explain why the mileage is so low on my daily driver. But look, there's a lot of reasons why taking it off the road might be a good idea. Now, as much as I'd love to be one of those diehard Volkswagen fans who just drives their dub every day, come rain or snow or sun or whatever, but I think there's a whole number of reasons that I need to take into account which kind of make up my decision to take my car off the road in the winter. Now, one of the main considerations is parking. Now, I have one driveway space at home, and my wife parks her car on the drive. So that means my Jetta is relegated to, yeah, you guessed it, on the road next to the neighbour's wheelie bin. So the Audi is our family car. So getting our 6-year-old son in and out of the car, our dog in and out of the car, my wife parks on the drive so that it's easier for her to get in and out without worrying about doing it all on the road. So what's the harm with having my Jetta parked on the road? Well, obviously it's open to the elements, and as the sort of weather starts to turn colder, we're going to have gritting lorries going up and down our street, and of course that's going to mean that they're going to be going past the Jetta, firing that grit up against it at close range, and that's going to do absolutely no good for the for their 36-year-old paint on that car. Now, something else to consider is that the people who live opposite me actually reverse out very close to my Jetta, and in the past they've actually reversed off their driveway into my old company car, which was a Mark 7 Golf, and totally destroyed the wing and the front bumper. So that was a Mark 7 Golf. I wasn't massively fussed by it, but if they did it to my Jetta, I'd be devastated and probably have to have a long battle with the insurance company not to write it off. Now, we've also got just the absolute state of it. I was about to swear, it's that bad. So if you've seen this car at shows or you've seen it out and about, it's usually super clean, and yeah, everyone's surprised at how clean it is for a 1984. But if you look at it now, it's an absolute mess. I'm kind of ashamed of myself, really. I mean, driving up and down to the barn, you can see that there's just mud. The car is caked in it. And of course that holds the moisture as well, so that's only going to get worse. Now, if we take a look inside, it's just as bad in here. I mean, look, guys, don't judge me too hard, please. So I obviously should have some mats in here, but I don't. And again, that's my fault. And yeah, it's just getting dirty and grimy, and again, just another reason that just driving this thing for me throughout the winter is going to do it no good whatsoever. Now, it might seem like first world problems, just complaining that I have to clean my car more because it's winter and it gets dirty, but do you know what, it's more than that for me. I think I've tried to keep this car so clean for so long, and then in the winter it actually kind of gets to me a bit that it's just constantly dirty. So it's a car that I care about deeply, and for me, just to get in it at the weekend after being up at the workshop and just getting mud in the car, mud up the side of the car, yeah, it just kind of makes me a bit sad, really, that I can't sort of keep this car that clean all the time, and to do that would just be never ending. So again, I think for my own sanity, that's probably a good reason as to why I'd take it off the road. Now there's a couple of jobs I did about 2 years ago that unfortunately need doing again, which is really annoying because I fitted brand new parts, and you'd hope that actually it's one of those jobs that you haven't got to do for, I mean, one of them every 5 years, the other one you'd hope that it would be good for another 30 years, but that's clearly not the case. So first things first, we've got a leaky water pump. Now that was a completely new unit, including the housing, 2 years ago. It's done probably 3,500–4,000 miles in that time, and you can see that we've obviously got a leak from the water pump. I mean, it's all the way around. That seal has failed massively. Annoyingly, that was a brand new complete unit from Euro Car Parts, and you wouldn't expect to have to change that after 4,000 miles. But that's kind of routine maintenance, isn't it? I mean, a water pump gasket, it's not the end of the world. It's a cheap fix. It's about £15 for the part, about an hour to change it, tops. So I'm not too bothered by that. The one that's really annoying me is one that just, I'm plagued with these at the moment. There's so many Mark IIs that I've got that I have to do this job on. I think it's just Volkswagens in general, to be honest. So if we have a look down here and we go behind here, now if we go from this side, it's probably easier to see. So in here we actually have a pool of oil which is just leaking from the back of the rocker cover, which again we changed at the same time as the water pump, and that's just failed recently. So we've got routine maintenance that I need to take care of. I've got an MOT coming up at the end of the year as well. I think that's due, the 27th of December. So I'm going to have a look and see what it needs for the MOT. And then I guess I've got my concerns around whether or not my neighbour wants to drive into my car again. I'm sure they don't want to, but it happens. It did happen. And I guess also I've got just my general concerns about just this car getting sort of damaged over the winter due to sort of gritting lorries. I mean, even if just it's on the ice, I mean, I could slide into something and damage the car. I could again, it could just be sat here minding its own business, and someone could drive into it or slide into it on the ice. So again, there's just, I don't know, there's just a lot more risk this time of year that something could go wrong. So for me, those are kind of my considerations as to why I'm going to take my car off the road. Now, again, I'd love to be one of these guys who drives a Mark II every day, but I think as the value of these cars starts to go up, and they are getting older, if you've got the option to maybe drive something else during the winter, maybe with heated seats or climate control or windows that don't fog up every time it rains, then yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea to drive that. So for me, that's why I'm putting together a cheap daily, that if something happens to it over the winter, I really don't care. It's going to be wrapped, so the paintwork's shot anyway, so the wrap's going to kind of protect what's already there. But if the gritting lorries do decide that they kind of want to get a bit close and fire grit all over my car, it doesn't matter. If I end up sliding it into a curb or a post, again, it doesn't matter. And if someone wants to drive into it, again, it doesn't matter. You know, it's not my classic Volkswagen. So I think for me, that's my reasoning as to why I'm going to take this off the road. So with that in mind, let's get this thing fired up and let's get it up to the barn.